All right, welcome back to the Hit Factor podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and I'm joined by another awesome shooter in the sport, and his name is Garran Singleton. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows who you are, Garran. Uh, and because of that reason, I'm not going to make you do an intro. I'm going to just direct people to other episodes that you were on, other podcasts, so they can just search your name. And if Jeff spells it correctly when he uploads this podcast, they can just search your name and then go find another podcast and like learn about you. But I'm gonna skip kind of that stuff
Oh, good. I don't like
because
talking about myself.
so we're gonna talk about like I don't know. I have some questions for you. But welcome to the podcast, Garen. It's
I
awesome to have you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, yeah. I've got questions for you that I think. Well, I'm going to start off by I'm going to get to a couple different things. Well, I'll first kind of go with your history just a little bit in nationals performances.
hmm
Um, 2019, you is it 2019 you finished sixth and then put
Yeah, that
yourself
was
on the
that
super
was my
squad?
that was my first nationals I ever shot.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting just in itself. Your first nationals and you put yourself on the super squad right away.
It
Um,
was an interesting feeling.
yeah, and how old were you then at that time?
I just turned 20.
Okay, so you're still pretty young, but but you just turned 20. You go to your first nationals and you finish sixth place.
hmm
Um, did you? What was? I'm now curious what you thought like before that match when you were going to the match. You're like going to nationals. Where did you think you would finish?
Man, I honestly had no idea. So
Okay.
I had never even thought about shooting nationals before that year. Like it never crossed my mind. I just thought I was a normal guy shooting guns, having fun with it. And I won the Tennessee State match that year and won a slot for production nationals. So I got an email like a month or two before Nats, and they're like, "Hey, you got a slot? You want to go?" I'm like, sure." I was a master class at the time. A week before nationals, I bumped the GM at a local match. So I'm going to my first nationals. I'm a new GM. I don't really know what to expect. And this was before like, nowadays you hit approve and the scores are immediately uploaded. Back then you had to wait till the end of the day for them to sync all the tablets.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know, and watching the scores, and like after day two, I'm like, man, I'm doing pretty good. Like I don't really know where I should be, but I'm doing pretty good. And after day three, and I finished, and I realized that I was sick. Man, it was an unreal feeling for sure.
So you were pretty pumped about that.
I was
I
super
mean,
pumped
but
about that one.
so did you know going into that match, like, had you been looking at people's names and were you like, oh, okay, well, I beat this person, so like I might beat them at nationals, or was there none of that? Were you just like, it's nationals, I'm gonna go? What?
Yeah, it was pretty much just nationals. I'm gonna go. Like I knew the top names. I knew Mason Lane, JJ, Max. The big names. I knew who all of those people were. I knew I wasn't gonna beat them. I don't think I beat any of those guys at that match, but Ben Stoker was at that match. I knew I had no chance of beating Ben. So none of the other guys I really knew who they were, and I was just there to shoot. I didn't know where I was supposed to be at the time. Now I look back and like, man, that was pretty solid shooting, but I didn't know where I needed to be.
Yeah, you okay, I got you. And then I'm sure that changed pretty quickly after that match, where you were like, oh,
100%.
here's where I should be. So take us really quick to 2020 Nationals and your first time on the Super Squad.
So after completing in 2019, I'm like, man, I know what I need to do. I know kind of the process of all this. Being on the super squad for the first time was unbelievable. So, I grew up watching Max and Blake Miguez on like Top Shot and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Watched them growing up, and then in growing up into shooting sports, the past like 4 years, but at the time I was watching Max and JJ and all these other top dudes, and they look like robots to me at that point, right? They're doing things that I don't think I can accomplish ever, and now I'm putting my belt on next to JJ. And making stage plans with Max. It is so unreal. The first stage, everybody on the Super Squad dropped a mic. It was a tough stage that we all dropped mics, and that was the point that I realized I'm like, man, these guys are human. Like they're no different than anybody else. They've just been doing it longer. So it was so much fun to be on the Super Squad and watch their mindset and watch how they conduct themselves on a stage and talk to fans and all that. So it was super fun, and I love it even more now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I want to get to now, or near to now. I want to go to, well, I before we get, I guess, fully caught up. You finished uh in 2020. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit. You shot production, you switched over, you shooting carry optics, and then 2023 you finish fifth at CO Nationals, which is
Mhm.
one of the two biggest national events that we've ever had,
Yeah.
and you plop yourself right in the top.
Mhm.
and and you shoot kind of with some people. I mean, on that, I think you shot with Christian and Jacob at that
Yes.
match on the Super Squad,
Mhm.
on the other Super Squad.
Yeah. Super
um
Squad B.
and uh and you finished fifth. And so I'm just catching up. You don't have to go into detail with that. You talked about that in another podcast.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying to the people is that Garran is really good at shooting. Um,
Have my
and
moments.
and and then so I'm connecting this back a little bit too, because I've shot with you one time, which was
Mhm.
last year, 2024. And your attitude on the Super Squad, and I'm assuming this is everywhere else, is kind of like you're in a good mood all the time. Uh, and at least it seems that way to me. It's like you're in a
Mhm.
good mood, you're having fun, uh, and that seems to help you. And I
It
and
does.
I see a lot of people get really serious. Obviously, on the Super Squad, you see that. Is that something that you had to learn? Is it something? What was that like?
It's kind of a personality trait. If you dwell on the bad things, it kind of covers up the good things, right? So on a match, I use what I like to refer to as the bay technique, right? If you have a fantastic stage on one bay that stays there, you have to now go and perform on the next bay. It's the exact same if you have a bad stage, and it's even more important
Hmm.
because what you did on this bay is going to affect this if you don't just drop it and get back into the better mood. You have to be able to switch back and forth between funny and having a good time to all right, it's game time, let's do this.
Yeah,
But you can make that switch really fast just off of experience, right? I couldn't do that on my first time on the Super Squad. Like it was 100% serious all the time, and
it's
it was
exhausting.
hard. It is
Yeah, that's
exhausting.
yeah, it's very, very tiring. So do you do you base that then off of feel? So like if you're on a stage and you're like, all right, I'm not up for a little while. I'm just gonna joke around, have fun. And
Mhm.
then does that change on maybe it changes on the stage when you make that switch to like I need to focus up now? Or is it like different moments of focusing up, maybe when you walk up to the stage for the first time
It's
and
it's
then there's
different moments.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like on the walkthrough, like we're all focused on figuring out the plan. You hammer it into your head for a minute, and then you can break that focus and go joke off with your friends and have a good time. Once you're in the hole or on deck, it's back to drilling that stage plan into your head to make that just a subconscious thing, so you can focus on everything else.
Okay. Okay. So now, well, that brings up some things. When you say focus on everything else, what are you focusing on when you're shooting a good, like a great stage that you have, like a
Mhm.
that ends up being a top performance? What are you focusing on in the moment?
Pulling the trigger.
Okay.
So that's if you build your stage plan right, you don't have to think about your stage plan. It should already be that should be a subconscious thing. Your brain can only focus on one thing consciously at a time. So If you build that stage into your head and drill it in there, all you have to do is focus on pulling the trigger without disturbing the sight picture. That's the most important thing that you do in the entire stage.
Okay, so how do you can you bring us in a little bit more detail on that? Like when you say focus on pulling the trigger on a good sight picture, because that sounds great. But during a stage when you come into position and your dot is in the delta and you are trying to pull it into the alpha
Mm-hmm.
and there's some part of your mind saying no, I should pull the trigger now because there's the clock is running. So where does that detail come in? Where uh, explain that a little bit.
So it breaks down to the appropriate sight picture for the appropriate target. So if it's a hard partial at 25 yards, having that dot in the delta is a little better than having it in the no shoot. So we're probably going to pull the trigger then.
Okay.
It's a whole lot of just of dry fire and learning what that perfect sight picture looks like. So that also becomes subconscious. Like, hey, dot's not where it needs to be. We're not pulling the trigger yet. You know, you can adjust your sight picture and then pull the trigger when you have the appropriate sight picture.
All right. I gotcha. Is this something that you made a big shift of kind of before when like I guess coming from irons and then going over to a dot, like where was there a time, I guess what I'm asking is like when I'm not sure I'm not sure how to approach this question. I'm gonna jump back a little bit further. I'm gonna
Okay.
go back to like your dry fire then in 2018 and 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you doing to train yourself to do what you want to do on a stage than in dry fire?
So at that point,
Back
I
then,
didn't know what
yeah.
I was doing. I had no
Okay,
idea
so
what I
tell
was doing. I was just loading the gun. That is my main focus at the time. So I was shooting an M&P, which are kind of hard to load ish if you don't really know what you're doing. I spent 4 hours a day. I had nothing else to do, right? I spent 4 hours a day, like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, reloading and
yeah.
drawing. I was focused on nothing but hand speed at the time. I have since learned it's not the best idea. There's more important things to do, but
But at that time, you're spending a lot of many hours with the gun in your hand,
mhm,
and you're looking at some kind of target, I presume.
yeah. I mean,
And
typically it was just one target, a minimal, like quarter size target or half size target on the other wall in my bedroom, and that was it. I wasn't doing transitions or anything like that.
okay, cool. Okay, so I'm asking about that because there is something you did, which it seems like you did lots of gun handling,
Sure did.
to to get your initial jump in skill.
Hmm.
Uh, because you had to have some skill. And then take us to preseason 2023, like early season 2023.
Hmm.
Where's your dry fire at that point?
So in 2023, I had a little better understanding of, I think I made GM in carry optics at the time. So then I was, GM in production and carry optics. So I had a little better understanding of what I was doing. And that's where I really, my trick was I would watch videos from previous nationals or previous local matches and be like, hey, I didn't do too well right here. Why not? And I would go review that video dozens of times and figure out what I did wrong. I'd set my phone down, put my belt on, and dry fire that specific skill. If it's reloading up range, wide transitions that I didn't do fast enough, whatever the case may be, I'd break down every stage like that and make notes on what I need to work on and then go dedicate a dry fire session to that.
Okay, so is that usually then you dedicate that a session, which how long were those sessions? Like 2023. How long
They were,
is one session?
I bumped it down because, like life and work and all that. It was about 30, 45 minutes
Okay, and
after the day.
is that pretty much based around one skill?
At the time, yeah.
Okay, and because I find it like, and it's right now it's not always like this, but sometimes I'll have a skill that I want to work on, and then I'll look at my clock and I'll be like, oh, I've been working on this for 35 minutes, and
Uh
like
huh.
I'm doing pretty much the same thing for a while, and sometimes that's really productive.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not, but oftentimes it's like, wow, now now I've got that down. Like I can do this
Hmm.
thing. So then when you coming back to a stage, is are you consciously aware of certain things that you've been practicing, and then are you trying to overlay that onto what you see at a match on a stage and and being like, hey, here's this thing I can do? What, or is it more in the background? What is that like for you
It
trying to
it really depends on the stage. If there's so like one of my big skill sets is shooting distance. I really focused on that after I want to say it was like 2022 nationals in Talladega where there was a pretty good amount of distance. And so I honed in on that skill. And so now I kind of lean on that. You know, if I can take a target 20 yards back where I don't have to run up, I'm going to do it because I know I can. And I know my bullets will get there faster than my feet will. So I'm going to use that skill. Like I think it was stage 18 2 years ago at CO, what they called the Dorito stage.
Yep.
I didn't run up. There was never a question in my mind to run up or not. I'm like, I'm just going to shoot all this all the way back, even though it was a 45-yard mini popper.
Yeah, I don't think I even walked it the other way. I was just like,
No,
I'm going back. I don't even know what the stage plan is if you run up, so I'm
exactly.
not.
Yeah. I'm committed to running back. I'm not even going to look at going up.
Yeah, and obviously, like maybe it didn't matter, in that circumstance. But yeah, that gets to the point of like the skill set that you know that you're strong at. And so
Hmm.
what? So you got distance. What else are you looking at that are your strength?
Uh, like right now, distance is still my strength, and being able to blend positions are like my two biggest strengths on a stage right now. I
Okay.
can't go fast. I can't split the gun very fast. So hoser stages are not my strengths.
It's just funny to hear because I think of you as like Garran is just really fast. I mean,
I
like
can
we got
transition. I can transition really fast. I cannot split really fast.
yeah, but I mean that shows it too. I mean, like there was at nationals last year, there was a couple of pretty high hit factor stages that you were right there on,
Hmm.
either winning them or right at the top.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think I won one stage, but it wasn't because of splits. It's because I hit the steel.
oh yeah, so this was was that the one, was that shorter stage where I forget, there was like the two steel at the end coming up, or
Yeah,
which?
three. Yeah, with the one paper at the very end that you kind of had to lean for.
Yeah, yeah. We're not describing the stage very well. People just have to. I don't know.
Hey, it's posted on my Instagram. You can go find
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So anyway, yeah. So blending positions. Uh, what are you looking at? Because I've obviously I shot with you on the at nationals in 24, and you spend you've definitely spent time looking at stages and thinking about different options on a stage.
Hmm.
Um, does that then obviously that ties into how you're blending things together, but you were definitely willing in walkthroughs to try different things and kind of see what works. And what are you looking for when you try a couple different runs?
So during walkthroughs, you never want to set your mind on one specific thing because it might not be right. You might be really, really silly about that stage plan, and somebody might have a better option that you're not seeing. So if you're too stubborn to look at other options, it's going to bite you in the foot later, right?
Yeah.
So looking for how the stage flows in different positions. Like if you go to position A first versus B, how does it flow better? What does it set you up for? I'm always looking for what it sets you up for next because that's the most important thing. Like you're already here, but where are you going next, and how do you set yourself up for that next position or that next target?
Okay, so when you say set yourself up, are you looking at, I mean, because the first thing I think of is like body position is,
Hmm.
and
Body
then
position, foot position.
foot position, where your weight's going to be, things like that.
Yep.
Um, and so it's like if you go back and you're going to enter really deep on a position where you didn't necessarily need to, so you're going to be loaded up super hard on one way, and then how is that going to affect the where you go next, essentially.
Exactly. 100%.
Um, okay, so let's talk a little bit about we kind of jumped around it, but your best stage performances, because I'm always curious about this.
Mhm.
Um, if we look at, let's just say this past year, um, is there a stage that pops out at you that was like really good? Not necessarily a stage win, though it very well could be, um, but like a good performance for you, like a really good performance.
I'm trying to remember the stage number. I think it was stage 16. I think
Okay.
it was the stage that we got a rain delay on and you shot it in the rain with bags.
Okay, that was 13. 13.
13.
Yeah.
That stage 100%. So
Okay.
you stole my stage win on that, but you had to shoot in the rain. I'll give it to you.
I had the advantage. I had the advantage of shooting first and in the rain. So it's
True. I'll give it to you. I can't be too mad. You shot all alphas with bags. I'll give it to you.
yes.
But
Okay. Yeah.
that stage was 100% it for me.
Okay. So let's look at that stage. Where in the order were you?
I shot right behind Christian, so I was probably mid pack at the time.
Okay, mid. Because I totally stopped paying attention. I think I took my gun out before our last stage.
I
Yeah.
don't remember. I want to say I was right in the middle since it was day two. I want to say that's about where I was.
Okay. So you're in the middle of the order. When we looked at that stage, I hadn't looked at that one specifically the day before. So I did. When we had walked up to it, that was the first time I'd seen it. Had you looked at it the day before? Or?
I had glanced at it, but there were a lot of people on the stage, so I really didn't bother.
Okay, so when we got up to that, there was like a couple of different ways of doing it. Did you run it the same way that I did, where you started on the right side,
Started front right. Yep.
front right? Okay. And so as far as like the stage plan, what did you do to, I guess, allow yourself, as far as the planning piece, to give yourself confidence to then shoot it really well? Because you did.
So I once again I looked at it starting both ways. Starting on the left at the back or at the front. And I didn't really like that because of how you had to go around that wall. It put some weird movement in the middle of it, which I didn't really like.
Yep.
Starting on the right allowed me to again set myself up for what's next really easily because you're running the direction that the gun's going. The only time you weren't was when you were running straight across and you were reloading. There was nothing to do anyways.
Yep.
Um, that stage, so that is where Christian's dot failed on him, and he had some problems shooting steel. And I remember I got up to the line because I was next. Like after watching him have a tough time on one steel, I'm like, I have to go one for one. That's what's gonna make this happen. And the entire time I was making ready, I was like, just go one for one. That's all you have to do. Everything else will be fine. Just go one for one. And I did. And I shot my last round and I unloaded them. And I was just thinking, man, that was good. I had beautiful sight picture on everything. I knew all my points were there. I couldn't have been happier with that run. I could not have done it better.
Yeah, you had like two or three Charlie, something like that. We should pull up the score. I'm gonna get Saul is gonna be like, no, that's not correct. Um, uh, but so you knew instantly, and that's something interesting because, uh, I mean, you don't always know. Well, I should say you know like what you saw behind the gun.
hmm
Did you know you knew instantly for you that that was a really good performance?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I again, did you post video of that?
Yes.
Okay, so people should go watch that. I should go watch that. Also, your match video is up on YouTube, isn't it? For
I believe so. I
you
believe
put
I
up
put that one up there. Yeah.
you put up a bunch of match video, which is always awesome to see. Um, so like the other piece is with a good performance like that, you're connected. You connected everything really well together. As far
hmm
as like cutting out hesitation between positions.
Yep.
How how much of that is the knowing that you just shot good shots in the position you were at, so you can leave without hesitation? I mean, like where? how how do you go from doing one thing to then moving and doing the other thing and leaving that position behind? Because I think a lot of the time that's hard to do,
It really
especially
is.
especially if you throw a makeup at steel and you're like,
Yeah,
I
the moment that one thing goes out of line, it throws everything off for sure. And
okay,
I'm not 100% sure how I do it. It's just one of those things like that stage. I don't know what it was about. I don't know if it was because I watched Christian have a hard time, or if I watched you burn it down, or what it was. But I was focused extremely hard on that stage. It was our last stage of the day. You
mhm,
know, I had shot pretty well for that day. I'm like, I gotta end strong on this one. And
yeah.
it was 100%. I could not have shot another stage that day because I dumped all of my focus and all of my energy into that stage because I knew it was the last one we had. If I'd
It
had to
is
reshoot, I'd have been screwed.
it is interesting how, because I've definitely noticed that before, especially when you have a day like we're not shooting all day, we're just shooting half day format. That was our AM
Yeah.
start.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like, oh, I have all of this mental bandwidth left, and we got one stage, so I guess I should spend it right now because I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
recharge.
We're dumping it right now.
Um, so let's talk then a little bit about uh, when something doesn't go right during a stage, and and how you then try to manage that during the stage. So like makeups on steel, like maybe you're a little out of position, that kind of stuff. How do you get back on track?
So my thing, and I suffered from this a long time, especially shooting production, is if you try to push after a mistake, it's only going to cause more mistakes. So, shooting production, you have 3 to 4 reloads in a stage. You fumble one reload, or you have 2 or 3 makeup shots in a position, your entire stage plan is now screwed up. You have to figure out how to fix it. And that I think benefited me a lot shooting production for those 4 years that I shot to make me learn to think on my feet and be able to get back on plan if something goes wrong. So I don't push if I have makeups on steel. I hit it and move on, and I don't think about it again. I don't try to push after I fumble a reload or anything like that at a major match. At local matches, yeah, I might go 100% after that just see what I can do.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so when you say well, I guess how did you then have to learn when you make a mistake and then at a major match that you care about, that response after the mistake, how did you make that uh correct for you? Like is this I what I'm asking is this practice in the moment, or is this planning ahead of time how you're going to respond in a certain situation? Or is it both?
It's a little bit of both. So I learned how to do this from shooting production because I would make a mistake, I would fumble a reload, and I would just go hammer down for the rest of the stage. There would be
Right.
there would be no breaks. It would be all gas the entire time for the rest of the stage, and I would throw dumb Charlies or Mikes because I wasn't seeing what I needed to see, and it just I kind of stepped back and looked at the bigger picture. I'm like, I'm making these mistakes after I make a major mistake and I'm trying to fix it. I can't get back that time that I can't get back that second and a half that I spent on that fumbled reload or those makeups on steel. So why am I going to sit here and potentially cost myself 4 or 5 more seconds running over positions and now having to back up or throwing mics or whatever the case may be? It just snowballs after that.
Yep. Yes. So I mean, what you're talking about, what we're talking about, that skill or whatever it is, to be able to make a mistake and then not let that affect the rest of your
Hmm.
run is a huge separator on like people that are equally skilled. Like you have
Yeah.
even just on the super squad, you'll have people that are relatively equally skilled, but then you'll have another separation that occurs on the people who make mistakes really quickly and then they just move on,
Yeah.
um, and don't let it snowball. And so I guess the other part is there any element of kind of practicing in your mind before you go to the match on how you want to behave in those situations? Or what does that look like when, I guess, anyway, you answer that for if you have a thought on it.
So that's the difficult part is there's not really a way to train that unless you're in the moment. So really, I've really focused on doing that if I'm coming up to a major that I care about. If I make a mistake in a local, that's where I try to focus on, all right, we're going to play this like it's a major match. Don't push after this. Just get back on track and go back to doing what you were doing. You know, you can push on movement a little bit after a mistake, but that's about it. And even if you push on movement, you run the risk of going out over bounds and having to get back into fault lines, which I've done more times than I care to admit. And it's really hard to train that. It's hard to train for failure without failing under pressure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. Yeah, it's really hard to do. And so this is where the experience thing comes in a bit. And up until recently, you hadn't shot, at least major matches, you didn't shoot too many until the last couple of years. Is that right? I mean, how many majors do you think you shot a year?
Before 20, I think 23 was my busiest year. But before that, I would shoot three majors, maybe,
Okay.
if
Okay.
that.
And how many locals do you think in that time, like that 22, 21, 22,
Two a month.
two a month? Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a decent amount of like this experience, like because
Mm-hmm.
there is an experience level that happens here. Like you have to
100%.
shoot matches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are you what is so I'm going to shift a little bit here. What's your behavior then at local matches in 2021, 22, that kind of era? Your behavior when you walk up, when you go to a local, are you like, I'm here to win, and I will do like strategic things to beat local people, or are you like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to do something else? What is it like?
So it really depends on the time of year. If there's a major that I'm trying to get ready for, it will be 100%, you know, focus mode. I'm here to make sure my training is on point
Okay.
and make sure what I'm training and dry fire is matching with match results, right? If there's no major, I'm just there to have fun. And
Okay.
I will shoot as fast as I can on some targets and shoot no shoots because they were standing there and it happens.
Okay. So I want to just point out something. Having fun for you was not, I'm going to shoot all alphas for the entire match.
No, no, it
No.
was how
Okay.
fast can I do this?
So
it
so this.
in 2020-ish time frame for me, it was not uncommon for me to shoot a local match and shoot like 80% points.
Okay.
I would
That is
I would shoot I would shoot like 15 Charlies on a stage, but I would do it like 10 seconds faster than anybody else.
this is something I am only dipping my toes into now, it feels like, which is like this idea of shooting a local match. And like I've only shot a couple of matches this year, but there has been a few stages where I shot more Charlies than I did alphas.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was really fast,
Yeah,
and it was really fun. And I think that and for me, there's been a ton of value there.
100%.
Because and so I want to hear from you and your perspective, like doing that, having, shooting fun locals back then, and maybe you still do now.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you might.
I do 100% still do.
What do you get out of that when you
So
go and have fun like that?
when I'm just there having fun, I kind of learn what I'm capable of as far as speed. So I kind of did a weird full circle on that. So back in 2019, 2020 era, I was winning every local that I was shooting. Yeah, I was shooting production at the time, but I was winning against masterclass PCC shooters and I was shooting production. I was just shooting it way faster than anybody else. I was relying solely on my speed and I didn't care about points.
Yep.
And then I kind of got away from that and learned how to shoot points. And now my times aren't where they should be. So now it's even more beneficial for me to go out and have fun and push the limits on speed because I can be like, hey, I know I can do this, but how fast can I do it? What is that weird edge of out of control but still in control kind of thing? And that's
Is
where I
this
learn at locals.
is this a global, I'm talking about like an overall for a stage kind of feeling, or is this isolated more on like, here's this array of targets that there's a few partials in there, but they're close enough and I can really rip on all of that? Or how detailed and how close up is it, or how broad is it?
It's typically a stage to stage thing.
Okay.
Because like if it's nothing but tight partials, then we're just gonna shoot for points and try not to shoot no shoots and hardcover and a bunch of makeup shots. If it's all up close and personal, we're just letting it hang out and just see what we can do.
Okay, and is that your then so then that's how you look at a local match where you'll come to a stage and you'll be like, what's going to get me the most fun value out of this? And
Exactly. Exactly.
okay, this I'm learning so much. This is great. Okay.
Local matches
Um,
are a lot of fun if you let them be. Well, I know a lot of people that will take local matches and make them into like major matches as far as mindset goes, which is a time and place for that. If it's the week before nationals, that's what we need to do.
yeah.
But then if it's like January, February time frame, just have fun with it. Just see what you can do. If you don't win
Yeah.
that local match, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're in it and when you're new, you're like, this match, regardless of, obviously it's a local match and no one will see these practice score results except for Saul, who,
Uh,
he's, I don't know if you know, if you listen to the Hit Factor podcast, but Saul will like pull up, local match results from somewhere random and be like, ah, see,
he pulls
but,
up those dirty secrets that nobody wants to be shown.
so, but there's so much there because you're like, oh, I'm competing. This is really important. And yeah, I mean, so much value in letting go of that and, and just shooting. So then I guess tying this back to a major match from stuff that you've learned by having fun locally,
Mhm.
where do you apply that? How does that get applied to major match performances?
So at major match performances, that's where it kind of I dissect the stage and use those skills that I learned at local matches. If there's a super up close burner, array of targets, I know what I'm capable of. I know I can push the speed there a little bit, and I know that line that I can't cross that is now out of control, and I know I can throttle in between like 95 to 99% ability and be fine because I've pushed to 105% and I know what that looks like and I don't want to do that at nationals.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure say I mean like activating sequences where you have a better understanding of what you can do in certain amounts of
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And if
Once
you
you activate it, you know what you can do before that swinger or drop turner or whatever shows up.
yeah, and if you were always going to shoot the most conservative activator sequence, then you would never know what you can do, or if you were never going to shoot an array as quickly as you could, then you couldn't.
Exactly.
So this is a process of just seeing, I mean, what I hear is seeing what you can get away with
Hmm.
and still actually get away with it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's pretty interesting. I mean, for myself in the past, I held myself back a lot because I would
Hmm.
look at something and say, well, how do I paint way inside the lines and be
Right.
so tidy?
Uh
Um,
huh.
and that is kind of fun, but definitely not not as
It's
fun.
it's way more fun to just paint outside those lines a couple times.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a very freeing feeling, and so I something that's common when you push really fast. I think it's common for a lot of people, or when you try to make yourself go fast, is like you get tension that builds up
Hmm.
somewhere. What do you do for managing that piece? Like if you see at nationals there's a close array and you're like, oh man, this is it. Like I know this is a place that I can shoot really quick. What do
Mm,
you do to kind of keep yourself from dipping too far, like to 110%, and keeping yourself 100%?
I'm more so focused on the sight picture. What that
Okay.
sight picture might look like is determined on the array. So if it's a 5 yard up close target, I'm not going to see my red dot. I'm just going to index, and the
You
gun is going to do what the gun's going to do, and there's going to be an Alpha Charlie at least on a 5 yard index target.
yes, you know
So
that.
yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah.
that is something again with pushing the limits, learning that index point. I don't have to see that red dot on that target. I can see the blur of the gun in my hands and know that it's at the center of the target ish.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so there's a lot more to cover there, but I want to jump around because we are rapidly approaching the end of the podcast. I don't want to do a 3 hour podcast, though we definitely could. I am capable, but don't want to. Um, so we
It
talked
just
about
sounds
local
like we
match.
need another episode, is what I'm hearing.
I know. I think there's a lot of them. Like I had some good. Yeah, like I'm thinking Brantley Merriam was really good to talk to.
Mm.
And then I had Jacob on earlier. Like, and by earlier I mean months ago. But those, but there's a lot more and a lot of conversations. But let's do. Well, I have another question about matches and your selection of matches that you go and shoot at during a
Mm.
year. Are you looking for places that are new to you? Are you looking for matches that you've shot before? How do you select major matches, and what's that like now?
So it's a little bit of both. If I've shot the match before and I really liked it, the odds of me going back is are pretty high. But I
Yep.
also try to shoot at least one new match a year.
Okay. Why?
Whatever that gives me a broader horizon of options and different stage designers, and it just
Okay.
expands that experience a little bit.
Okay. So you yeah, I like the idea of expanding experience. So that's something new and it's out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
new, a new
you
bay,
don't have the
new
home
base.
court advantage there. You're on a
Yeah.
completely new territory.
But why would you want to do that to yourself, Garran? Like, so what?
because it because it builds that experience. It builds the ability to perform at new places. Because like if I were to shoot like uh race gun nats this year, it's in Utah. I've never
Yeah.
been to Utah. I've never shot in Utah. I've never even been to Utah.
Yeah.
But having gone to all these other places and shot at new environments and new terrain and all that, it's just another range. It doesn't really affect me as far
Yeah.
as being in a new area does.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. Like I mean there are some matches that I was like, well, this is a pretty good match, but I'm not going to go to it again because I want to go somewhere new.
Yeah,
And there's like I think yeah, it is that experience. Experience is a skill. Um and there's everything. It's like how quickly can I get familiar with the range layout and where things are and all this
exactly.
stuff. And the more that I do that, even if it's just 1 or 2 times a year, then
Hmm.
the better I can be at that kind of going forward.
Yeah,
Uh,
and every range is different, even as far as the lighting goes. Like where does the sun come up and where does it set? That kind of stuff. If you shot in frostproof, you know shooting into the sun is no fun, but you learn how to do it. So when you shoot somewhere else, it's not any more fun, but you have an experience with it, and it's not as blinding, if you will, I guess.
literally, yeah, yeah. My first nationals was it at Frostproof in 2020, and
Hmm.
it was like day 2 in the morning, and one of the guys on our squad like a cloud rolled in perfectly and covered it just for him.
Uh-huh, of
And
course.
it covered the sun, and then it came out, and it was like mist and sun in your eyes for everyone
What
else. But
was 2020 when they did production and CO together?
yeah, yeah, they did.
So. I was on the same schedule, and I shot the activator sequence, the activator stage into the sun that morning, and it was
Ooh.
horrible. I couldn't shoot
Was
anything.
oh you were was that
That's when I was on the Super Squad in 2020.
okay, so that was that stage like with with there like three movers on that stage or two
Yep.
or
I
on a
I
bigger
won't.
field course
I don't remember
or
if it was a
maybe
bigger field. I think it was a stand and shoot. You had to like drop to a knee to shoot under a wall or something.
okay.
I don't remember the exact stage. I've slept since then and killed more brain cells than I care to admit.
Yeah, it's there's a certain point to like remembering things from too far back. Like we can delete some.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Some of those files can just be deleted.
um, all right, so I want to hear a little bit about your goals going forward. Like what
Hmm.
and this is where like you don't have to answer like a specific if you don't want to, but
Yeah.
what's like your top goal? Like what do you want to do?
So for like the foreseeable future, or for like this year.
I'm talking like the biggest one, the biggest goal you could pick.
I want a podium at CO Nats. That's my biggest goal.
Okay.
Like, is it possible? Yes. Do I think if Eric Rafael shows up, do I think I'm going to beat him? No, not at all. Can I beat some other people and get the podium spot? I think it's possible. That's my biggest goal out of everything.
Okay, cool. I like it. That what an advantage Eric has in that sense of because I feel
100%.
like he knows that other people auto think that, and why should he hasn't been beat, so why would
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's
Who is silly enough to think that they can beat the man that hasn't been beaten in what, 20, 25 years?
so it's interesting, yeah, like what a position to be in for him for that. But yeah, there, I mean, like also at the same time, like why not? Like he's gonna be beaten at some point, so
At some point.
why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Some point
um,
he's going to be beat. So why can't it be me? But I don't think that
so
time is now.
So if you're talking about podium at CO Nats, like to to put yourself in that position, like that's the same essentially as winning as well. Like
Yeah.
you could then win as well. And so what else beyond that? So let's say you win CO Nats. Um
So the next one would be probably pick a different division and see if I can do it there.
okay. Okay.
Because I've always loved bouncing around. I have this weird tism skill that it doesn't matter what gun I'm shooting, I can shoot it well. So I've shot production, I've shot single stack, I've shot open, I've shot carry optics, I've shot revolver. Revolver was a lot of fun. It was a brand new thing that I had to learn, and it was so much fun to do.
Forgot about that.
It was a blast. It was some of the most fun I've had at a nationals because there was no pressure. I was just there to shoot, and ended
Yeah.
up like seventh. Now there were only like 12 of us shooting that division. That's not the point.
No, you mean still your percentage was pretty good. You were in the 80s, right?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think
Yeah, yeah. No, Revolver always seems like would be fun.
it was a
Um,
blast.
it, it would not be terrible. Like
No,
I don't. It's still shooting.
yeah, it is still shooting. You learn a whole lot more shooting revolver because that double action doesn't lie. You learn a lot about your grip and your trigger press on that double action.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Um, okay, there's a bunch more stuff that we could get into, especially with the mental side a little bit, just
Hmm.
for matches. So I want to touch a little bit on that, and then we'll wrap it up. But now that I brought it up, I can't not. Um, so for I mean, your attitude at matches, again, we talked about this earlier, but it's a pretty positive attitude, and you talked about just leaving everything on a stage and then going to the
Hmm.
next one. Um, is that your mental game, or is there are there other layers to this? Like,
So there are other layers. That's like the biggest one that a lot of people will struggle with that I've seen. You know, people will make a catastrophic mistake on one stage and they dwell on it for the rest of the match. And so yeah, I can't do that. You and I can't afford to do that at nationals. You know,
no,
we do that and it messes up the entire rest of the match for us. So being able to do that is key. The other thing is just ignoring everything else that's going on. Uh, so you look at a stage at nationals when we have the 12 top people in the country behind us watching us shoot. We have probably dozens of video cameras on us. We have ROs. We have people's families. Everybody is, you have hundreds of eyes on you, if you will. That gets to the point where a lot of people can't handle that. And I remember it was 2022, I think it was, when I was on the super squad for CO in Talladega. I was making ready and Shooting USA was on that stage. And I remember making ready and it clicked into my head. I'm like, there are TV cameras here. Oh no.
What a moment to realize that too, because it's not like,
It was
but I
horrible.
I know exactly what you mean, because you're like, oh, you're just on the squad and you're like, oh, there's the cameras, like here's everything going on. But
Yeah.
then right at this moment where you're making ready, you're like, oh, I'm about to be filmed.
Yeah.
Yes, they probably won't even put it in the thing.
Exactly. But there are two TV
But
cameras
still.
focused on me right now.
So then
So
in that moment, what are you doing?
after that, like I thought of that. I'm like, all right, it's no different than anything else. Just shoot the stage. Whatever is happening behind you, it doesn't matter. Just ignore it. Focus on the present. Focus on what you need to do. You know what you can do. Now just do it. And I shot a pretty solid stage. John was super happy. I think John interviewed me after that stage, so I made him happy. So everything was good.
Yes. Okay. So this gets back to the experience part where that moment taught you a lot. So
Hmm.
then and obviously there's future moments that happen as well. Like I'm sure there were many times after
Oh yeah,
that where
100%.
do you then get like a glimpse of that feeling and then you're like, "Oh, I've sorted this out before?" Or what is it?
It's exactly like that. You start overthinking whatever it may be. It might be something in your personal life. It might be something that you ate a burrito that tasted funny that morning, and that's the only thing that's going through your head. And you just, after experiencing enough times, you can just shut it off and go back to doing what's important right there. Just like at Nats last year when I grabbed onto the wall and yelled "we" when I ran around it. I clicked out of focus and clicked back in because it was funny and I wanted to do
Yeah, I think I said I was going to do that and then I did not do that.
it. That video was super popular. I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like grabbing a wall, regardless of saying anything while you grab the wall, because that is pretty good. Um, but anytime that I can grab a wall, I'm just gonna grab the wall, and I think it's part of that. Um, Obviously, if I can do it safely, and if it kind of makes sense, but
Mhm.
I'm talking myself back from what I was just about to say. But it there are certain things that if you can find something that is fun in amongst, like that's our first day, that's our second
Yeah,
stage, third
second
stage.
or third. Yeah.
And it's like this is a big deal, like this is the biggest nationals ever.
Hmm.
What am I supposed to do? Let's find something fun to
Yeah.
do.
Let's make everybody on the stage laugh real quick, and everybody will be happy.
Yeah, yeah. And so a part of this element of like having a good attitude during a match, it depends a lot on the squad. And
It does.
sometimes there's not there is not someone lifting up that attitude.
Hmm.
Um and so then when that's not occurring, it's like uh-oh, like somebody better do it.
Yep. Somebody's got to break
Uh,
this weird tension that's in the air right now.
yeah, I mean I've shot a lot of matches in the rain um and sometimes people get really down in the rain. And
Yep.
especially if it's raining and cold, people can get
That's the worst.
it's the worst. And so I mean like Saul again, I'm bringing up Saul, but he's really good at this. Like if it's a squad and people are kind of bummed out because of the weather or whatever it is, it's like let's just be really excited after someone lays down a pretty good run. Like
Yeah.
let's have a good time with that. Let's be like super enthusiastic with the ROs, whatever it is. I think that that's a piece that's sometimes missing out of the mental side, where everything is always like really serious and staying laser focused on exactly what you need to do.
And
When
that's kind of the downside of the super squad, right? So everybody on the super squad clearly has the ability to win, and so a lot of the times everybody gets super focused and nobody wants to be that clown to mess around and make people laugh, when that's kind of what needs to happen in order for everybody just to relax. And when I'm relaxed, I shoot better. When I'm super nervous and have this tension everywhere, I don't shoot as well. If I
yeah.
just relax and have fun, it's when I shoot the best.
Yeah, I think it's a huge boost
Yeah.
to, because that is, yeah, when I don't know. I mean, there are moments where you can be really really stressed out and like put together an amazing performance. Like that
Yeah.
happens, but I don't think that you can bank on that as much as just
Mm-mm.
creating an environment. And so that's where, I mean, like we know a lot of, I think it's probably hard to be on a super squad for the first time. I know it was a lot for me.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then, but then once you're there again, provided you make it back onto the squad, like
Mm-hmm.
that's partially the goal of your first time on. You're
100%. You're
just
like,
like,
I just want to be back.
but then you start to treat it more as like, here's this match. Obviously, it's super important. I'm gonna be nervous.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. I like that approach a
Yeah.
lot.
It's being able to just relax and have fun, because at the end of the day, it is just a game. We're there to have fun. I personally don't get anything more if I win or lose. I'm just there.
Just
Yeah,
I'm
I'm just
there.
there to have fun.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Okay, last thing. Uh, I heard you mention a little bit on world shoot stuff.
Hmm.
Obviously, you didn't shoot. Did you shoot either of the IPSC matches this year or no? Or the last
I've
leading
never
up?
shot an IPSC match.
Okay, is that in the cards for you going forward? Do you think?
I think it's a possibility.
Okay, is it?
Everything that I've seen, it looks like IPSC is a whole lot of fun. I just don't have an IPSC legal gun right now, so I'd have to like build a new set of guns, and it costs money, and I'd have money tied up in other guns.
So is part of this also like, where is the world shoot going to be during the
It
next
is sad.
cycle?
Like I had an opportunity to get qualified to shoot it this year, but I really didn't want to go where it is this year, so I turned down that opportunity. Plus, again, I would have to build guns at a very short notice. Not that that would bug me, because they'd be Shadow 2s with a couple of tweaks, but I just didn't want to do it this year. I didn't have enough time to prepare for it. So was it every 4 years, I think?
I think they're moving it to every
Maybe.
4 year. Yeah,
So
2029.
maybe, yeah, maybe 2029. We'll see where it is.
Let's see. All right, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you would do right. You are really good at this game. So, and
Well, I appreciate that. I do try.
yeah, it seems like that, I don't know, there are a lot of people get into this and then get out of it pretty quick. Even
Mhm.
really good. I mean, there's been a lot of instances of someone gets really good, they're in it for a little bit and then they're back out. I mean, is that what el what element keeps you in? Is it the game? Is it, why are you still doing it?
So it was all that was almost me. I was almost a part of that club a
Okay.
couple years ago. After 2023 was my busiest year as far as shooting majors. I shot all three nationals. So I shot CO Nats. I then moved to open and borrowed an open gun and shot open Nats. And then a month later, I went and shot revolver Nats, and I shot like 5 or 6 like state level matches. I was burnt out after that. Going towards the end, I didn't want to shoot anymore. I didn't want to touch my gun. I was tired. So I kind of like going into 2024, I was texting a couple of my buddies. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to shoot this year. I was like, I don't feel like I want to. And so I took like 4 or 5 months off. I didn't touch my gun. I didn't dry fire. I didn't do anything.
Hmm.
And so a local match came up and they're like, hey, come shoot with us. Just come have fun. And so I went, had my fun local match where I just went absolutely crazy. Shot like 99% points. I think I dropped like 4 Charlies for the entire match. I'm like, all right, this is fun again. I'm gonna do this.
Oh, that is awesome. So you show up, you shoot really well. You're like, all right, we're back in it. Like
We're back in
this
it.
is
Yeah,
fun.
it's the game. It's the competition side of me that loves competing at a high level, and it's the community that keeps me coming back.
I love it. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't know. We're at an hour right now. Oh no. Um, I hold myself to this arbitrary time function. Does not matter. But thank you, Garran. Is there anything else you want to add? I mean, I think you wrapped it up pretty nicely for us as well.
I
But is
think
there
I'm
anything
I'm
else you want to?
pretty happy with it.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much for your time. We'll have to have you back on at some point. Um,
Absolutely, I really appreciate you having me on.
yeah, thank you. And anyway, for the Het Factor podcast, we're out.